Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about someone truly amazing. Someone I like to call the Lioness Queen, Virginia McKenna. When I think of her, I don't just see a lady who was in films. I see a brave heart who stood tall for animals, especially lions. She showed the world that wild animals are not toys, not things to be owned, but living, breathing souls that deserve freedom. Her kindness is like sunshine, gentle, but powerful enough to change lives. She taught us that when we love with courage, even the smallest person can roar like a lion. That makes me believe that I, and you, and all of us, can help protect the world too. The Lioness Queen is proof that one person's voice, full of care, can echo across the earth and reach the hearts of many. She makes me want to be braver, kinder, and to always stand up for what is right, no matter how hard it is. So today, when we remember the Lioness Queen, Virginia McKenna, let's promise to carry her spirit of love and courage. Let's roar for the voiceless, protect the wild, and never forget that we are part of something bigger. Thank you. Virginia McKenna is someone I like to call the Lioness Queen because she carries both the gentleness of love and the strength of courage within her. When I think about her, I imagine not just a person who acted in films, but someone whose life has been shaped by her deep connection with animals, especially lions. She became a symbol of compassion for the natural world, showing through her work and her actions that lions are not just creatures to be admired from afar, but beings with feelings, families, and the right to live free. The title Lioness Queen fits her so well because she has always stood up for them like a guardian, someone strong and protective, yet at the same time full of kindness and understanding. Her story inspires me because she reminds us that caring for animals is not a small thing. To some people, lions may just be wild animals living far away in Africa, but to her, they are kings and queens of the wilderness, living symbols of freedom. She showed that to respect lions is also to respect nature, and to respect nature is to respect ourselves. When she spoke about them, or when she worked with them, she wasn't afraid. She carried a kind of bravery that wasn't loud or fierce, but steady and powerful, like the quiet courage of a lioness watching over her cubs. This is why I see her as a queen, not because she wears a crown, but because she carries dignity and leadership in the way she lived her life for animals. There are many people who admire lions because of their strength or their beauty, but Virginia McKenna admired them because of their spirit. She helped others to see that lions should never be trapped or forced into cages, that their place is the wild where they can roam free and proud. The Lioness Queen fought in her own way, not with claws or teeth, but with her voice, her actions, and her love. She gave her life to spreading the message that every animal, whether it is a lion, an elephant, or even a small creature, has the right to live safely and without fear. What makes her so special is that she did not only care for the big picture of saving wildlife, but also for the little moments that matter. She knew that stories could touch people's hearts, and so she shared stories that showed lions not as scary beasts, but as friends, mothers, fathers, and even children of the wild. Through her, people could see lions differently, as beings full of life, love, and pride. That is why her influence was so powerful. She didn't just talk about change, she lived it, and that's what makes her the Lioness Queen. When I think about the word queen, I imagine someone who protects, someone who is graceful and strong at the same time. That is exactly how I think of Virginia McKenna. She protected animals with her voice and with her work, and she carried herself with so much grace that people listened to her. She never needed to be fierce in a frightening way. Her fierceness came from her endless care. Like a lioness, she gave strength to others, especially young people, to believe that they too can stand up for what is right. Her crown is invisible, but it shines through her actions, and her kingdom is not made of castles, but of savannas, forests, and oceans where animals live free. To call her the Lioness Queen is not just a title, but a truth. She represents the heart of what it means to be a protector, a fighter, and a dreamer for a better world. She shows us that even one person can carry the roar of a lion within their heart, and that roar can be heard all around the world. She is a queen not only of lions, but also of hope. teaching us that love and courage together are stronger than fear and cruelty. She will always be remembered as someone who stood side by side with the wild, with dignity, courage, and love, the true spirit of a lioness queen. Courage and kindness for animals is something that shines brightly in the life of Virginia McKenna. Courage is not only about standing in front of danger or fighting against something scary. Courage can also be gentle, quiet, and steady. Her courage came from her heart, from believing so strongly that animals deserve love and freedom, even when other people did not see it that way. She showed that kindness and bravery can live together, that to be strong does not mean to be hard or cruel, but to be tender and determined at the same time. This is why she has inspired so many people, because she proved that courage and kindness can change the world when they work side by side. For many people, kindness is seen as something soft, like giving a smile or helping a friend. But when Virginia McKenna showed kindness to animals, it was much more than that. It was not only giving love, but also standing against things that were wrong. It meant raising her voice for creatures who could not speak for themselves. It meant stepping forward when others stayed silent, even when it was difficult. That kind of kindness takes courage, because the world is not always kind in return. To keep loving and protecting, even when it is hard, is one of the bravest things anyone can do. Animals, especially wild animals, cannot ask for what they need in words. They cannot stand in front of a crowd and say, "Please don't hurt me," or "Please let me live free." They depend on people with big hearts to speak for them, and that is exactly what she did. Her courage was not only about loving animals, but about refusing to accept cruelty or unfairness. She saw that kindness could be a shield and courage could be a sword, and she used them both together in a way that made people listen and care. That is why her work mattered so much. She reminded the world that animals are not ours to use or control, but fellow beings who share the earth with us. Courage and kindness for animals also means being able to see them differently. Instead of viewing a lion or an elephant as something to fear or as something to capture, she saw them as families, as mothers and fathers, as children of the wild. It takes courage to go against the common way of thinking, especially when so many people believed that animals were only meant for zoos, circuses, or trophies. She showed another path, one where kindness allowed people to see the beauty of animals as they are, in freedom. That way of thinking spread further than anyone expected, and it began to change hearts. There is something powerful about the way kindness can move people. Courage alone might be strong, but when courage is softened with kindness, it touches hearts more deeply. She did not fight for animals with anger, but with love, and that love was what drew others to join her. People could see that she cared, not for fame or attention, but for the animals themselves. That is what true kindness looks like: giving without expecting something in return, protecting without needing reward. That kind of kindness is not weak. It is one of the strongest forces in the world. Even in the smallest acts, she showed how courage and kindness can work together. Whether it was speaking up against cruelty, helping a single animal, or telling a story that made people cry and think, she was always showing that kindness can be brave. It is easy to turn away from problems, to pretend not to see suffering, but she never turned away. She looked at it directly and asked herself, "What can I do?" That question is what made her so special, because instead of waiting for others to act, she chose to act herself. Her courage also gave courage to others. When people saw her stand strong for animals, they felt stronger too. Her kindness showed them that it is not silly or childish to care, but something noble, something that makes life meaningful. She helped people believe that kindness is never wasted, even if it feels small. Every kind act, every moment of bravery, builds into something bigger. For animals, these small actions meant the difference between suffering and safety, between cages and freedom. Courage and kindness for animals is not just about helping them survive. It is about helping the world keep its balance and its beauty. By showing both qualities in her life, Virginia McKenna proved that humans and animals are connected, and that our future depends on how we treat those who cannot defend themselves. Her life is a reminder that courage without kindness can become harsh, and kindness without courage can fade away, but together they can protect and heal. Lions and wildlife deserve freedom because they are not ours to own, control, or keep locked away. They belong to the earth, to the wild lands where they have lived for thousands of years, and they have a right to stay there without being taken for entertainment, money, or human pride. A lion is not just a symbol of strength or beauty for us to admire. It is a living creature with its own family, its own needs, and its own world. When lions are free, they are more than just animals. They are kings and queens of the savannah, walking with dignity and showing us the power of nature. When they are trapped, their spirit is broken, and something inside the world becomes smaller. That is why freedom is not a gift we give them. It is a right they already have, and it is our duty not to take it away. Wildlife of every kind deserves this same freedom. Birds in the sky, elephants on the plains, dolphins in the sea, even the smallest creatures crawling in the grass all have their own places where they belong. Their homes are not cages, circuses, or tanks. Their homes are forests, oceans, and open fields. To see a lion pacing back and forth behind metal bars is to see a shadow of what a lion truly is. To see a wild elephant standing on a chain is to see life cut short. True life for animals is found only in freedom, where they can live as they were meant to, guided by their instincts and surrounded by the rhythms of nature. The idea that humans can own wildlife is something that has caused pain for generations. People have taken animals for trophies, for circuses, for zoos, or for their own collections, forgetting that these creatures are not here to serve us. Lions are not ornaments for cages, and elephants are not performers for shows. When Virginia McKenna reminded the world that lions and wildlife deserve freedom, she was reminding us that love is not about possession, it is about respect. To love an animal is to let it be what it is meant to be, not to hold it in chains. There is also something deeply unfair about taking away the wild from animals who need it most. A lion cub in a zoo can never learn what it means to hunt, to roam, or to lead a pride. An elephant in captivity will never know the feeling of walking miles across open land, following ancient paths with its herd. A dolphin in a tank will never feel the endless stretch of the ocean, the way it is supposed to. These losses are not just sad. They are a kind of cruelty because they take away the very essence of what it means to be that animal. Freedom is not just space to move, it is the ability to live the life an animal was born for. When lions are free in the wild, they become part of something bigger than themselves. They keep the balance of nature by hunting, by moving across land, by teaching their cubs how to survive. Every animal plays a part in the story of the earth. When they are taken from their homes, the story is broken and the balance is lost. Protecting the freedom of wildlife is not only for the animals, it is for the health of the entire planet. If lions vanish, if elephants disappear, if forests grow silent, we lose pieces of ourselves too, because we are tied to nature in ways we sometimes forget. The sight of a lion running across the plains, the sound of birds filling the sky, or the calm of elephants moving together is more powerful than any cage could ever hold. These images remind us why freedom matters. A free lion is not just an animal, it is a symbol of life, of courage, of beauty that no walls can contain. To keep wildlife free is to keep wonder alive in the world, for children, for families, for future generations. It is to protect the magic that makes the earth more than just land and water, but a place full of living miracles. Freedom for wildlife is also a lesson for people. It teaches us to live with respect, to share the world instead of trying to own it. It shows us that we are not the only important beings on this planet, but part of a greater family of life. Every animal that lives free reminds us of humility, of our place within creation, and of the fact that real love does not control, it protects. Lions and wildlife deserve freedom because they were never meant to live behind fences. They were meant to live in the wild, strong and unbroken, just as nature created them. One voice can change the world, and that truth is shown through the way a single person's courage, kindness, and determination can reach further than they ever imagined. A voice does not need to be loud or powerful to make a difference. It needs to be true, steady, and full of purpose. When someone stands up for what they believe in, even if they are standing alone at first, their words and actions can ripple outward, touching people's hearts, inspiring change, and creating movements that become larger than one person. A single voice can be the spark that lights a fire, and once that fire begins to spread, it can brighten the lives of many and bring hope where there was none. The idea that one voice can change the world is especially clear when we think about those who have spoken for the voiceless. Animals cannot speak for themselves in human language, so they need people who care enough to speak on their behalf. One voice can tell their story, one voice can shout against cruelty, one voice can whisper a truth that others have ignored. It is not the size of the voice that matters, but the courage to use it. A person may feel small or powerless, but the moment they choose to stand up, they show others that change is possible. Sometimes it seems as though the world is too big for one person to make a difference. Problems like animal cruelty, destruction of nature, or injustice can feel overwhelming, like waves too strong to push back. But history and life prove again and again that it always starts with one person who refuses to stay silent, one person who dares to care, one person who chooses to act instead of turning away. That single decision can inspire others to join in, and before long, one voice becomes many. Movements for freedom, kindness, and justice are born from someone brave enough to begin. One voice can change the world because it carries the power of truth. Lies and cruelty may seem strong, but they crumble when people begin to speak the truth again and again. When someone speaks from the heart, when their words are carried by love and honesty, they cannot be ignored forever. Even those who disagree may begin to listen, because the truth has a way of shining through darkness. A voice that speaks truth is a voice that awakens others, and when people are awakened, they cannot go back to silence. There is also something magical about the way one voice can inspire children and young people. A young girl or boy who hears someone speak with passion about protecting animals, saving the wild, or standing up for what is right, may carry that message in their hearts for the rest of their lives. They may grow up to speak with their own voices, adding to the chorus of change. In this way, one voice is never truly alone. It creates echoes in the hearts of others, who then carry the message forward. That is how movements grow, not through force, but through inspiration. One voice can also break barriers of fear. Many people are afraid to speak out because they think they will be judged, laughed at, or ignored. But when one person dares to speak, it gives courage to others who feel the same, but were too afraid to say it. A single voice can tell them, "You are not alone." That feeling of connection is powerful because it transforms silence into strength and hesitation into action. A world where no one speaks is a world where cruelty wins, but a world where even one person speaks is a world where hope can begin. The voice that changes the world does not always belong to someone famous or powerful. It can belong to anyone, even a child who decides to say, "This is not right," or "This must change." Every great movement for kindness or justice began with someone ordinary who refused to accept the ordinary cruelty of the world. They believed their words mattered, even if others told them they did not. That belief gave them the strength to keep going, and their persistence created change. When one voice speaks, it also teaches others the importance of listening. Change is not only about shouting. It is about reaching into the hearts of others so they can see the world differently. A single voice, speaking with love, can open the eyes of someone who never thought about animals, about nature, or about kindness before. That moment of awakening is powerful, because once you see, you cannot unsee. One voice makes the invisible visible, and in doing so, it shifts the world forever. The world may be wide and full of noise, but one voice, clear and determined, can still rise above it. That voice can remind us that silence helps cruelty, but words spoken with courage help freedom. That voice can turn loneliness into connection, apathy into action, and despair into hope. One voice can change the world because it carries the heart of one human being willing to stand up for what is right. And when that happens, nothing can stop the ripples from spreading further and further until the world begins to change. Roar for the voiceless. Protect the wild is a call to action that reminds us of our responsibility to speak and act for those who cannot. Animals, no matter how strong or mighty they may seem, do not have human voices to defend themselves against cruelty, greed, or destruction. A lion may roar in the wild to protect its pride, but that roar cannot stop a cage from closing or a hunter's bullet from flying. Elephants may trumpet across the plains, but their sound cannot stop the chopping of forests or the stealing of ivory. Dolphins may sing in the ocean, but their songs cannot keep them safe from nets and tanks. This is why humans must become the roar for the voiceless. We must raise our voices on their behalf, not because they are weak, but because they are silenced by a world that often values profit more than life. To roar for the voiceless is not only to shout loudly, it is to stand firmly and bravely for animals and wild places, even when others turn away. A roar is powerful because it is heard. It shakes the air, it carries far, and it cannot be ignored. When we choose to speak for the voiceless, our roar can travel beyond walls, beyond borders, and into the hearts of people who need to hear it. Each voice that joins becomes part of a greater roar, one that can awaken the world to the truth that animals are not objects, not trophies, not entertainment, but living beings who deserve respect and freedom. Protecting the wild is the natural step that follows. The wild is not only about animals, but about the lands, the forests, the rivers, and the skies that hold life together. It is the place where balance exists, where each creature plays a role in the great story of nature. To protect the wild is to protect the home of lions, elephants, tigers, whales, and every creature whose survival depends on open spaces, clean water, and untouched forests. When the wild is destroyed, the voiceless lose their only sanctuary. They cannot move into cities, they cannot build new homes, and they cannot argue for their land in human courts. They can only suffer in silence unless someone roars for them. The idea of roaring for the voiceless also carries a lesson for young people and future generations. It shows that courage is not about being the biggest or the strongest, but about caring enough to speak when it matters most. A child who learns to protect the wild today may grow into an adult who dedicates their life to conservation. Each roar we give now can echo into the future, shaping a world where animals are safe and nature is valued. It is not only about saving creatures in danger today, but also about making sure tomorrow is full of life, color, and wonder. To roar for the voiceless is also to refuse to be silent in the face of cruelty. Silence is what allows suffering to continue unnoticed. When animals are taken from the wild, when forests are cut down, when oceans are poisoned, silence makes it easier for the harm to spread. But when someone roars, the silence is broken. The world is forced to look, to listen, and to decide whether it will change. A roar may begin as just one voice, but if it is brave enough, it inspires others to join. Soon, what was once a single cry becomes a chorus that no one can ignore. Protecting the wild requires more than love. It requires action. It means standing against the cages, the chains, and the cruelty. It means defending habitats from being destroyed, protecting species from being hunted, and ensuring that animals live in freedom, not captivity. It is not an easy task, but it is a necessary one, because without the wild, animals lose their place in the world. And without animals, the wild loses its soul. To protect the wild is to protect the heartbeat of the planet, the rhythms that keep life alive for all. Roaring for the voiceless and protecting the wild is also about respect. It is about understanding that animals do not exist for us, they exist with us. They are part of the same earth, the same sky, the same circle of life that humans belong to. When we take too much, we break that balance. When we protect, we restore it. This respect is not only for the animals themselves, but for the beauty and harmony of the natural world. Each roar is a reminder that we see animals not as lesser beings but as equals in the right to live free. The wild is full of voices, birds singing, wolves howling, whales calling in the deep, but it is also full of silences created by human actions. The silence of a forest where no birds remain, the silence of plains where lions once roared, the silence of oceans where whales no longer swim. These silences are warnings, and they remind us why we must roar. We must fill the silence with our voices, not to replace the animals' sounds, but to defend them, to make sure their voices are never lost completely. To roar for the voiceless, to protect the wild, is to keep alive the music of nature and the freedom of life itself.